Following on from the success of their first EP and their limited recording studio in Little Rock, the band headed east to Memphis.
The band's going to make it. I think it's pretty well known around here that you have to go somewhere else. I mean, that's always been the way it is. Maybe that's going to change. And because of Evanescence, maybe it will change.
The band went to Ardent Studios to master their latest demos, and by luck were introduced to music producer Pete Matthews, the man who would change their lives forever.
The first time I met Evanescence was here at Ardent. I was doing a record on a band called Dust for Life at the time. I think it was early 2000. And they came here to Ardent to master a self-produced demo that they had done themselves. And the mastering engineer at the time buzzed me in the studio. I was actually in this studio, and said there's this really interesting and different sounding band that just sort of walked in off the street, and you should come take a listen.
It was just after Origin came out, and they packed up and went to Memphis for several months, and they worked there with a heck of a guy named Pete Matthews.
It became a little bit tiresome going back and forth so much, so we decided that to get more consistent work done, that they should move up here. I found them a house and close to Ardent, and we set up a small control room in the back bedroom of the place. We would come here to record at Ardent, you know, when we could, and when there was a little bit of money or a little bit of time open here. But most of it got done in that little house.
Memphis was a pretty good experience for them, I think, professionally, because I mean, I know they learned a lot from Pete Matthews, and certainly they credit him with a lot of their success.
I remember having a lot of people tell me that I was insane for moving this band up to Memphis and you know, and putting all this time and putting all my eggs into one basket, so to speak, and that sort of thing, because I really was, I had so much belief in them, and still do, obviously. They've fulfilled their potential.
If you went in the house, it was pretty much two rooms where one room was all recording studio gear where Ben worked, and then Amy would record in the next room where they had it all padded down with heavy blankets and things that you would use for packing furniture and things like that, and they made a vocal booth in there.
We would do things like put a guitar amp in the shower and put a mic, you know, 5 feet away from it to get a bizarre ambient intro, or, you know, I mean, it's amazing what you'll do or what you'll come up with in a situation like a home recording environment where you don't have the options that you do at a place like this, where you have this fabulous console and this great big tracking room, you know.
And they went to live in this place that was squalor in Memphis. It was horrible, you know. We'd go to visit and take them food, and it was just bad.
My main memories are just toiling, you know, just working and working and working, getting things done, and you know, it was a cool setup in the house because we had the little studio in the back room, and then we could take breaks and, you know, maybe watch a movie or something. Ben and Amy were both very into film even at that point. The creative collaboration between Ben and Amy, it went several ways. Sometimes, you know, Ben would bring a riff to the table, or a loop, or a combination of many things, you know, sometimes a finished song, and he would come to Amy for a melody line and some lyrics. Or sometimes it would go, you know, opposite of that. You know, Amy would write usually on a piano or on an acoustic guitar, and so they sort of came at each other in different ways, you know.
Creative juices were flowing, but Amy's dad was starting to get tired with his dropout daughter.
When your child's in development, out of college, as a parent you're kind of going, yeah, okay, great, because you're really waiting for something to happen. Nothing's happening. In development, you're writing, you're depressed, you're the poor musician who has nothing, you're occasionally going to the beach to get your head together. You go to the movies a little bit. There's not much going on, and when people say, "What's your daughter doing? Is she in college?" I had kind of grown tired of Ben and the band and all that because I didn't think they were getting anywhere.
However, Amy and the rest of the band still had their hearts set on the big time. So producer Pete Matthews headed to LA to push the record.
Once we finished working on the demos and we felt like it was ready to be shopped, I believe I first went to LA. I didn't have a tremendous amount of luck in LA. I went to every label, you know, my management set up. I got some great response. I got some lukewarm response. I didn't get any, I don't like that, you know, but there wasn't anybody out there that was willing to just sort of jump on it and really commit. Everybody was a little bit disappointed at the time because there had been so many no's and so many, well, I kind of like it, but not right nows and all that sort of thing, so much rejection.
With no luck on the West Coast, Pete headed east.
And I had more luck in New York, definitely. I had a lot more positive reactions and a lot more interest, like people wanting to come see the band and that sort of thing. And but that's as far as it got. You know, I got a couple people who wanted to come see them and that sort of thing, and that's pretty good. My last meeting of the whole week in New York was at Wind Up Records, and at the very end of the meeting, she said, well, is there anything else that you have that you want to play for me? And I said, well, you know, I have this band called Evanescence from Little Rock that I've been working on for quite a while, and I told her the whole story about moving to Memphis and all that, and I said, you know, I've gotten some good response, and I've gotten some lukewarm response, but nobody's really jumped, so let me know what you think. And I played her My Immortal. She got it. She immediately got it. She had, you know, her eyes were glistening just like mine at the performance that Amy gave on that take. I left and went and had dinner, and a couple hours later I got a call from the president of Wind Up, Diana's husband Alan, and he asked if the band might be able to fly up to New York that very next day. And I said, well, I'm sure they could. And I called up Ben and told him, hey, you want to come to New York tomorrow? The band came in, and I met them at the airport, and Wind Up sent a limo for them, and it was sort of the classic record label big cigar guy kind of day, you know.
And when they came back from New York, they weren't so sure they liked it. They almost didn't sign with Wind Up. They kind of they were thinking that maybe they'd wait for a bigger label, you know, Virgin Records or Epic, or, you know, that Wind Up sounds real small. They only had the group Creed, which was pretty much a phenomenon at the time.
When Evanescence was signed, I was really surprised to hear about it. I could definitely see the potential in the band from seeing them early on. It was definitely different. It was unique because it was female-fronted. The sound was a little bit different. Aren't a lot of people coming out of Little Rock, Arkansas, sounding like Evanescence.
Wind Up decided that they wanted to move the band out to L.A.
It wasn't terrible for us. It wasn't like, oh, she's gone. She's in a different state now, living in California.
They all, you know, started working out and writing, just basically writing more songs, you know.
I think sending them to L.A. was probably a tempering process, whether that's a record company type of deal or what have you.
They would send in songs, and the label would go, those are great, send us 10 more, you know. And that went on for a year and a half, while at the same time they were trying out several different producers to do the record.
You know, L.A., there's so much more going on than there is here, you know, and I guess if you want to be around what's music, then you know you're going to be in L.A.
When I was 20 years old, 21, my wife Sarah and I moved to California to pursue a career as singers. My parents thought we were nuts. and you guys don't have a penny on you, and we're going off to California. So since I'd done it before, and I'd always talked to Amy about it, and always played music, how could I say no?
So then finally, they, after about, I guess, probably 15 months or so, they started making their records.
When they got out to California, it freed up their heads a lot, helped them to see more clearly. But they wrote a lot of those nice, good, depressing songs in Memphis.